that many of us fall into. The space where all the medical options end and the pain indicates that more healing needs to be done. And you are desperate for answers. In this, if this sounds like you, right, then stay tuned and we will dive into this session of the Master Your Recovery Virtual Summit series. In this series, we're going to cover how post-traumatic pain accounts for 14% of all disabilities worldwide and includes localized pain such as low back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, and even general joint pain. And what you will discover is how you can find relief by partnering with the right kind of complementary therapy services to help you overcome these types of challenges. Hi, I am your host, Elle Kersey, and I am elated to introduce you to today's first speaker, Angela Pride. She is a former on-air personality. She's a former on-air personality, a speaker, an author, CEO of Coach with Pride, an all-around amazing woman, an NFL current mom, a current NFL mom, I guess I should say. And I can certainly go on about her all day long. So let's welcome her to the stage. Welcome, Angela.
Hello. Well, hello, everybody. So excited to be here today. Thanks so much, Elle, for that wonderful introduction. But I'm excited. I'm just excited to be in the room today and to talk to you guys a little bit. My topic today is going to be about being injured versus being hurt. But, you know, I hate when people get up in front of me and talk about stuff and you're like, well, how do you know about this? Or what's your expertise in this area? And as Elle mentioned, I am a current NFL mom, but I really consider myself a sports mom. I've been a sports mom for over 20 years now. I mean, my kids have done everything from soccer to track and field to wrestling to football to basketball. I mean, you name it, they've done it and pretty much excelled in all those things. So I'm really coming to you today from that sports mom aspect, but I wear a lot of hats and you'll hear a little bit about the many hats that I wear in my talk. And so I got my little cheat sheets here today to get started. But like I said, I wanted to give you a little background about me as well. So I am an athlete. I'm a current athlete. I'm an avid runner. Actually picking back up my running. I was a former ambassador for Black Girls Run for 3 years. And that was just an awesome thing in itself, getting African-American women out on the pavement, your race, your pace, that sort of thing. And so I did that for a while, but then I stopped doing it, but I continued to run. Definitely been kind of trying to increase my pace again as far as my running. Oh gosh, I don't like the way this thing looks on my hair, but anyway, trying to increase my running again. So I am an athlete myself, but I play basketball as well in high school. For 3 years, enjoyed basketball, always have loved the game of basketball. And so having played, I know the rules to the game and those sorts of things, as well as being a sports mom. Like I said, my daughter started playing soccer, I want to say when she was 5 or 6, and then everybody else just kind of followed suit with their respective sports. But I've been around injuries, but you know, we've been blessed in my family because there's not been a lot of injuries. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, I basically wanted to talk a little bit about that, about being blessed, about not having a lot of injuries. Now, what I learned, I mean, I don't think I've ever done a sport or ever began to run without warming up first. I don't think I've ever seen my kids do things without warming up, without stretching. And I know that this summit is going to cover a lot of those bases. And I don't pretend to be an expert in those things, but I do think that some of those things have definitely been helpful in us not being injured, right? And so I wanted to make that footnote because, like I said, not having experienced a lot of injuries up close, but still having seen a lot of injuries with other athletes, with my kids' teammates, with runners around me, and so on and so forth. I think I'm qualified a little bit to speak on what I'm going to speak on today. And that is the difference between being injured and being hurt. And so I'm going to get a little bit more into that a little bit later. But like I said, continuing on with my background. So I come from parents that weren't athletic at all. And then I married a man who was like the most athletic, competitive person in life. So hence, me getting back out there on the pavement around like say 2009, 2010, I started running and loved every minute of it. But during my journey, I did get injured, and it wasn't about me being injured on the pavement. I got injured in the gym. So now imagine that, I'm working out, I'm doing my gym thing, and I get hurt, and they have to wrap my leg up. I have to go through therapy and all of this and that. And I actually went through therapy with my trainer as opposed to just going to a regular PT. So don't really know, but I do know that when I played basketball in high school, my injuries were a lot less. They didn't take as much time. So I don't know if it's that age thing or what it is as far as that's concerned. But when I hurt my ankle, and my ankles have always been gimpy, and if you talk to my sons or my daughters, they're going to tell you they get their gimpy ankles from their mom. And so, but like I said, I can only count really one, maybe two, maybe a couple of times during basketball I was hurt, but nothing that hindered me from playing the game, right? And so that's part of what the talk is about today, because people always say, well, you can play hurt, but you can't play injured. And, I think that's subjective, but I'm also going to come back to that a little bit later as well. So fast forward now, I'm a sports mom, I'm involved, my boys, but, even with my kids, I can count on one hand how many times my kids have had to sit out in a game because they were injured, right? And I think it might have been one for each of them, and it killed them, like being on the sideline. And, I would say, like, seriously, one of my sons is 24. I think he's only missed before getting to professional sports in his amateur career. He only missed one game that I know of. And the same with my younger son, who's 21. So, like I said, we've been blessed to not have a ton of injuries or things that have hindered them. But keeping in mind, too, remember that man that I said I married that's one of the most competitive men on earth? He kind of trained our athletes to pop up. And I can remember him saying that and not really thinking much about it, but he's always told them, don't lay down, pop up, pop up. And now I know a little bit better, but I know that there's somebody listening where they either are telling their kids the same thing, or they have a husband or a wife or somebody who's telling their kids the same thing. And again, I hope that you will come for the remainder of this summit series, because like I said, you're going to hear some people talk about some things that's going to help you a lot with those things. But what I do know now is that it is not a good thing to play hurt, injured, or anything, because our bodies are like, we're not going to get another one, right? And so with that being said, I do not like the fact that, and I kind of get on to my husband now, because even with young men that we also do something called sports consulting, which is helping high school athletes and their parents prepare for the recruitment process. And so, but I don't tell young men and young women now that, if you're hurt, if you're injured, and I know it's so competitive out here, nobody wants to lose your spot. Nobody wants to run the risk of not playing, but you only get one body. And if you don't get anything from this talk today, understand that you only have one body and you don't get another one. So when that body continues to get beat up and beat up and beat up, I don't think you're designed to play. Take Tom Brady, for instance, 20 years. That's unheard of. But you also got to look at the position. So anyway, I could get on a soapbox about positioning and different ways for you to continue the longevity in your sport. But again, everybody's different. Everybody's body's different. And that's another thing that I've learned when you're talking about injuries and being hurt. But like I said, my husband did teach my sons to not lay down and to pop up at any instance. He didn't want to see them on the ground. So there were a couple of instances recently where I noticed one of my sons lay down. And so the fact of that, it was like, oh God, he must really be hurt if he is not getting up, because that mindset has been instilled in them since they were 5 and 6 years old. And so with that being said, though, I want parents and I want even athletes that are listening to this summit to understand that you are not a robot. You do not have to keep going. What God has for you is for you. I'm an avid believer of that. No one can, they might can take your place. Oh gosh, I'm about to mess that up. Anyway, I'm going to try to get into it, but they can't fill your spot, right? So they may be a placeholder for you, but you have to get healthy. You have to do what you can do to get back into your situation of being a healthy athlete, right? Because you're so much better when you're healthy. But anyway, so but I just believe that sometimes we can even teach our young people wrong. Sometimes we can believe the wrong things ourselves. And like I said, I'm going to get into the hurt versus the injured thing here real quick. But I just believe that when I was growing up, I believe a lot of what my kids were taught, when you talk about warming up, you talk about getting those muscles ready before you just jump into a sport. I think a lot of those things were definitely the right thing to do, right? To kind of prevent injuries, to kind of prevent becoming hurt as an athlete, right? So I think that we have to continue to encourage people to do the right thing when it comes to their respective sports or whatever it is that they're doing, even exercising in the gym, which is where, like I said, I got injured. I was out. I was down. I couldn't do a lot of things for probably about a good 4 to 6 months, really. Like putting weight on my ankle for a long time was unheard of. And now we live in a world to where if you do hurt your ankle, the trainers are like, hey, or the coaches are like, hey, let's wrap it up and get back out there. And I kind of cringe when I think about that. Now, again, I was a little older when I got my first serious injury. And so that probably affected the longevity of me being out for about the 6 months, right? Whereas my kids, my son, one of my sons sat out a football game, and again, just killed him. He did not want to sit out, but he did. And I was like, well, you're going to be better for the next go round, just trying to encourage him. But they're ready to go. I mean, they have shots and things now that they take, even as amateur athletes, even in college. They're ready to inject something into your daughter's leg to get her back out there on the volleyball court because she's their star a killer or whatever. So it matters how we take care of our bodies. It matters about doing the right thing to prevent those sorts of things from happening. But again, we are not robots, so they are going to happen. And when they do, you need to make sure, like I said, that you're tuned in for the remainder of this series, because I do not pretend to be an expert. I'm not a doctor when it comes to things like injuries and what to specifically do for them. But I'm trying to tell you guys what not to do, in a sense. Like I said, don't tell your kids to pop up if they're hurt, like let them lay there and somebody else can come in. That's why they have reserves. That's why they have backups and those sorts of things. But so anyway, so enough of that. But now, so let's get into the injury versus being hurt, right? And so with that being said, I looked up those terms because I didn't want to get on here and, like I said, pretend to be the expert, or I wanted to see what the dictionary had to say about those two words, whether you're injured or whether you're hurt. And I really didn't like the definitions, but I'm going to give them to you anyway. So when I looked up hurt, it said one definition said harm. So the next definition says to cause physical pain. Now, I really did like that one. So if you're hurt, you have some physical pain going on, right? And then the other one used injured in the definition for hurt. It says physically injured. And again, that one was okay. But then I went to injured, right? So if to be injured is to damage your body. And I did like that definition. It refers to harm caused by falls, hits, weapons, or even other things. But I've seen people be injured and they haven't even been touched. So I don't think that it necessarily has to do with you being hit. I don't think it has anything to do with you necessarily falling or things like that. You can become injured just walking. And I know that sounds a little funny, but I know some people who've done that. So it's really about, your body. It's about your muscles. You can become injured because you're overweight. There are so many variables that have to do with injuries, but let's stick to those definitions, right? So injured is damage to your body. And then for hurt, we're going to use causing physical pain. And so when people say, should you be playing? Can you play injured? Can you play hurt? And that is where I get into the fact that it's kind of subjective. Have you guys ever heard of a guy called Kobe Bryant? Now, I'll tell you a little backstory. My family is a house divided because you got a couple of Celtic fans, you got a couple of Laker fans. So I'm more of a fan of Kobe, not may he rest in peace, but because he retired. Okay, I can get on the bandwagon after you're no longer competition for me and my boys. But anyway, so Kobe, he did this they did this documentary on Kobe after he died. And he was doing it obviously when he was alive, but where Kobe had tore his Achilles, or Lord, don't quote me on that, but it was the bottom of right at his foot, at the end of his calf. And I really do believe it was his Achilles. And he continued to play the game. So he was clearly injured, but he went back out on the court. Still sticking with Kobe. Kobe was the same person. They said that his pinky finger was that of like an 80-plus-year-old man. But he continued to play, although I think he had either broke his finger or did something, continued to shoot. He did something one time with his shoulder, clearly injured, went back out and played with the other hand the entire game. So obviously some of that is a little mental, right? Some of it is your mindset. And they called Kobe Bryant the Black Mamba, which means that when it's time to kill, he's going to kill, he's going to bury you. It's over. He's a closer. And so, a lot of people respect that and we highlight that and we cheer for that. And it's like, yeah, Kobe, right? But I just can imagine, again, he's no longer with us, and may he rest in peace, and nothing against his mindset and his drive and his tenacity and his determination, because those things are always applauded when you talk about the great athletes, right? My favorite was Larry Bird. My favorite was Magic Johnson. My favorite was Bill Russell. Those guys did as well. Now, I don't know the stories about them, but you know why? Because there was no social media, so you wasn't all up in the Kool-Aid. If those old school guys got injured, they hid it. They didn't want anybody talking about it. But anyway, so back to whether you can play injured or hurt. I would be suffice to say, yeah, you definitely can play hurt, but I would definitely not advise that you attempt or try to play while injured. Again, Kobe did it. So, there are a lot of little boys out there aspiring to be Kobe. But do you want to have a life after that sport is what I would ask right now. And of course, Kobe had enough money to probably freeze some things on his body and try to make things better. Those are some of those alternative things that people are continuing to do today. But we're talking about reality. We're talking about you. We're talking about the fact that there is a huge percentage that don't make it to that professional level, right? We're talking about there's a huge percentage that make it, but don't make it to the success of a Kobe Bryant, of a Larry Bird, of a Magic Johnson, of a Michael Jordan, those people, right? And so that's the reality. And it's never to try to stunt your dreams or your hopes or anything like that. But the reality is you're not a robot. The reality is there is not enough money that you should be getting paid to be seriously injured and go back out on the court or go back out on the track or go back out on the mat or whatever your sport may be. And that's the one thing. So can you play injured? Absolutely, I guess, if it's in your mind. But most people that get injured get carried off. They're not there anymore. They have to go and they have to do something. Elle talked about surgeries and physical therapies being the start of most recoveries, especially when you're injured, right? But when you're hurt, let's shift. Let's go back to when you're hurt. When my son had played every game his high school football career, and he had a hamstring thing that happened while he was in camp coming up to the season. First game, right? The coach sat him out the game. I thought I was going to have to go and kill that coach because my son did not want to sit out. He felt like, I'm just hurt, I'm good. But if you know anything about a hamstring as well, a lot of those things, a lot of injuries, a lot of times when you're hurt, your body is saying, hey, rest. Hey, sit down for a spell. Hey, take this play off. But when you are a competitive athlete, when you are an alpha athlete, when you are the athlete that is like, I need to be out there, I want to be out there, it is so difficult to get that athlete to sit down. And so, which is why I'm excited about this series, because we're going to be talking about things, or they're going to be talking about things in the series that's going to try to encourage people that there are other methods that you can do. First off, to stay healthy, because that's number one, right? If you stay healthy, you don't have this injury, you don't have to have any surgeries. That's what you want. That's really where you want to be. But in the same token, when you are hurt, recognizing that I can live to play another day longer, probably, if I stop playing while I'm hurt. If I just rest this thing, the world's not going to end, especially in a high school match, a college match, even a professional match, because you're not on the field, on the court, on whatever, right? And so those are some of the things that I just wanted to share with you today from a mother's perspective, from an athlete's perspective, that you are worth so much more than just being out there playing injured or hurt. And yes, you get kudos, you get toughness. You hear about athletes, man, this kid, he just doesn't stop, or she just doesn't stop. She goes and da, 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 even when she's this, she's playing, even when she's this. And all I'm saying today is that a good thing? Absolutely. When people want to cheer you on and want to congratulate you on doing good things such as that. But it could also be a bad thing for your body, for your longevity, for your ability to continue to play. There was something else that I wanted to get into as far as other athletes. Like when you talk about professionals, it's so competitive. They draft somebody every year for your same position. Even in college, they're recruiting other guys to come in the next year after you've gotten there. And so it is competitive. But when you are a true athlete, the number one priority should be staying healthy, remaining healthy, not trying to prove to someone else that you're better, but just continuing to hone your craft, continuing to get better at the things that you were born to do, because you can't convince these young men. My son hosts a camp here in Greer, and you couldn't convince those little boys that they're not going to be NFL players. And, but like I said, the reality is there's a very small percent that actually even makes it to that far, let alone the college level, which is why me and my husband now, and he's leading that charge as far as sports consulting. We're trying to educate. We're trying to, and this summit is helping me, blessing me, because when we talk to people, we can refer people to those who can help them when they're injured. But, I talked to an NFL, or hopefully a future NFL dad, the other day, and I was encouraging him that your son just needs to be focused on, getting good numbers at his combine. He needs to, or his pro day, or whatever he was invited to, so that he can make it to where he wants. He shouldn't be worried about other stuff. And injuries sometimes can cause some issues with that. Injuries, you have guys who don't even perform at the combine. They may go, but they don't perform because they're hurt, because they're injured, because they played through college. I just heard about a young man that's pretty close to me that played hurt the entire college season this past season. He did phenomenal things the year before. I felt like he should have came out. I have no idea why he didn't come out. But anyway, he played hurt, and that's devastating to me. And I was like, if I could just get to his mama, because that baby shouldn't have played hurt. He shouldn't have played while he was injured, because I think it hurt his stock. Because you got to understand, it's all about that mighty dollar, guys. And I'm wrapping up here, because like I said, I can go on and on and on about these things, but it's all about that mighty dollar. But when you put yourself in a position to harm your own stock by playing injured, right? The NFL is all about numbers. The NBA is all about numbers. So, did he get these numbers? Did he make this number? Did he do better than this guy? But when you know yourself that a healthy you could have done 10 times better than that, why play injured? For your coach? I don't think so. Coaches leave, right? Even in the NFL, coaches get fired. You might be playing for a different coach next year and you don't even know it. So do what's best for you. And I want the parents and coaches that are listening to this, or the parents and the athletes that are listening to this, to always understand that. So if you are hurt, if you are injured, how dare a coach or someone else make you feel like, hey, you may lose your spot if you don't play today. If your body is not able to play next week, don't play. Do what's best for you. Do what's best for your body. You only get one. And I think that's all I have today. I hope I kind of touched on that playing injured versus being hurt thing. But like I said, it's really subjective because I gave you some examples of people that can play injured. Most people can't. But at the same time, I just want you to really take care of your body. Do the things that are right for you and your body. And now we're going to bring Miss L. Kersey back out so she can chat with me a little bit more. Maybe she liked some of the stuff I said, maybe she didn't, but we're going to bring the host back out here. Welcome back, L. Kersey.
I am here. Girl, that was fire. That was all the way fire.
Oh, well, all's good. You know what? I was like, I better shut up. I had a little bit more, but I was like, let me stop.
Oh, well, we about to go some more deeper into the paint because I think that people are so conditioned because of the American dream to go from one space to the next, right?
Right.
You want to, and we are so ambitious and we are so desirous of success. And so we allow in some situations for success to be defined by accomplishments. And we can lose sight of what's important. And I know this is going to be crazy, but that the Disney movie that just came out, Encanto, the point of the movie was that even though each of the people in this family were given these special gifts, the gift really was just the person themselves and not what they can contribute. So I think that we have to really be aware and remember that even though, yes, we do want to make it to the NFL. Yes, we do want to be a star. Yes, we do want to, hit threes all day from the paint. I mean, from the top of the key, I meant to say. But the thing is are we doing it where we are the value? We are the priority. We are what makes the magic. So the question is, what's the most valuable? The creator of the magic or the magic?
Wow. Right. Well, but I think that's big too. I think that has to come from us because I do think in the game of things, like I said, it all goes to money, right? So when you're coming from a coach's perspective and this is your star player, but he's gotten injured, right? So, but you, that player, somebody on the sideline, somebody in his ear has to be telling him that you are the magic. That without you, there is no magic. And it's not to dim anyone else's light. It's not to mean that someone else can't step up. I mean, but great teams, championship teams, there's always someone else that steps up or someone else who's ready to step up or someone else who's capable to step up. But it takes nothing away from that athlete that shined the entire year. Exactly. And that's the reality. That's what we have to understand. But so many of these babies are being tricked. They're being bamboozled. They're being fooled. They're being lied to. And that's the perspective because from a mom's perspective, no, I want my sons to understand that you don't have to do anything. I know this is your dream. I know this is your passion, but don't you allow someone to make you feel like you're obligated to do it when they can seriously walk away for another check, walk away for something better, and they won't even call you. They're not going to call back to check on you. It's on to the next thing.
Exactly. And then you also have whose perspective are you operating from, right? From a coach, the coach is like, I have to win games. And it's more important. Not all coaches are like that, but sometimes, it's like you get, and it's just the focus. It's like, we have to win these games so that next year there is a team. That's a lot of times, next year we do get the budget that we need, right? So we can help the next set of people. And so it's not malicious necessarily. I don't want to give that impression, but we do want to know, and we do want to understand and share that you have to be the advocate. It's just like for me, okay, so the last several years, I had to be my dad's medical advocate because one, even though he knew full well what was going on and what he wanted, when you're in pain, you're just like, you can't fully process information. Pain is a mental dimmer, right? So something that you would not have done when you were not in pain, you would sometimes agree to, or not fully comprehend or think about the consequences, other than I need to get out of pain, right? So you're going to take whatever the easy road is. And the easy road is not, and what seems to be the easy road is not always the easy road.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I agree with that. I think a lot of coaches, what we've learned, especially at the amateur level, a lot of coaches, I think it's different when there are coaches that have actually played, right? But a lot of coaches are in this game, and you'd be surprised at how many coaches, I mean, may have been walk-ons, may have never played a snap, this, that, and the other, but they got the coaching job because I guess they got the degrees or whatever. They meet the criteria. Maybe they just got a different look, right? Because some of we're having that debate in the NFL now about, what the coaches and the owners and different things look like. But I think it's different when it's from that perspective. But when you have someone that is in it for the wrong, that really could care less, that are just trying to get to their next level and their next paycheck, they are not thinking about those athletes the way that they should. And again, it's never about bashing anybody, but I want to be honest, and I want to talk about, things that I faced. Like one particular situation, my husband actually asked the coach, have you ever played? Because of just some decisions that the coach was making, right? And but the answer was no. And so I was like, well, how can this guy, and it was an older gentleman as well. It was like, well, how can this guy have what the best interest of my son, who was a teenager at the time, how can he possibly have his best interest? And the guy ended up getting fired and moving on to a different job and this and that. But we still sit back and go, well, how is he getting all these jobs? Are they not asking these questions? So anyway, but like you said, the perspective definitely matters. It definitely, because you're right. Coaches, they got to win games and they're supposed to be doing what they're supposed to do. But at the same time, a lot of times parents, we entrust our babies into these coaches. So we need to know who we're entrusting our babies into, because again, they can play for a team, but you still need to be the advocate for your child.
Yes. At all levels.
All levels. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
So let's get into the Q&A session part of this. So first question that we have is, would you say that prevention is the best cure for injuries? Sorry, my bad.
Oh, I was like, did you
I'm
not?
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I thought I had it all.
So when you talk about prevention, are you speaking more to like when I was like, warming up before you get out there, or doing stretches or things like that? Like when you say prevention, I'm kind of wondering, because I would say yes to answer the question, but I just wanted to be clear.
Yes, I think the question comes from a space of, do you think that, making sure that you're warmed up, making sure that you're fully stretched, making sure that like the condition of your body, so that before you go out on the field, like if you are not feeling 100%, why are you not feeling 100%?
Oh gosh, yes.
And are you prepared to play?
Yes, I definitely think that prevention is key, but I also think awareness is, because understanding the mind. So one of the things that for the last, I would say probably 6 to 7 years that I've learned just from my athletes is they are not thinking clearly. First off, it's so competitive. The motivation that coaches, trainers, that everybody's using is, oh, you got to do it because, if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. And so they have to be in a place, though, of clear thinking, or at least that someone else has that's not the coach, that's not the trainer, has been talking to them from a place of love. I constantly remind my kids, I'm your mom first before anything. So I'm definitely going to have your best interests at heart over anything I believe in anybody else. But if that young man or young woman isn't really thinking clearly, if that's all they're hearing is what that coach is telling them or what that trainer is telling them, oh no, I'm going to go out there just because I want to make my mark, knowing that your ankle's not at 100%, knowing that your hamstring just dang near popped, but you're going to go out there because you feel like that's the only way for you to make your mark.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think that we have to, I think that that's like a balance, right? You have to have that balance because it
Absolutely.
is true. If you get injured and you're gone for too long, then you might miss your opportunity.
That's
But
good.
that's why the prevention is the key, right? When you
Absolutely.
are warmed up, if you are stretched up, you have less chance of actually getting hurt or injured, right?
Right.
So that's
Right.
the thing. So just
Absolutely.
not getting hurt or injured. But we know certain sports are, there's two sports. There's football and rugby. Those are 100% injury sports. If you
Mhm.
play those games, you get hurt
Right.
or injured, or whatever. So it's important to know your limit, to know that okay, so this is more than just a small situation that
Right.
and we're going to talk later about like the Rice method and how it's been debunked and how that all that kind of stuff is still being used even though it's not even though it's not the cure all as it's been touted for 44 years. So there's a lot of things coming in the series around that. So we'll that's why we're doing it as a series so we can explain in like the different elements that are going into helping people. And that's why I wanted to start with this conversation first and how it is so important to not be uh suckered, right? Don't
Mm.
like don't be a sucker like from the 70s. Just don't be a sucker because they will play you because you I want to be like so clear because like you always hear the young people saying don't get played, don't get played. You are getting played regardless. And if you and one line from a movie that I super love is um um it was Devil in a Blue Dress. It was Denzel Washington, and I can't remember the character's name who this was, but he was like the main gangster guy. And he was like, look, when you wake up in the morning, you're gonna be mixed up into something no matter what. So the question is whether you're gonna be mixed up at the bottom or you're gonna be mixed up at the top. So my thing when it comes to sports, and you know that I'm new to understanding this whole backside of sports. Right. And so the thing is looking at that and going, okay, so you know you're going to get, you know that you in this game, you know that you got things going on, you know what your goals are. So you have
Right.
to understand the underlying necessities to being able to be successful at reaching that pinnacle. You
Absolutely.
know, you're talking about Kobe. If you want to be like Kobe, you can be like Kobe without the injuries.
Well, right, absolutely. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I wanted to go back to what you were saying about the saying or don't be a son. I think that life, and just being like a coach just in general in so many different facets. I talk to people about this all the time that everything's a game. Like when I'm dealing with executives and they're talking about their corporate entity and they're talking about how this person's getting paid more and they do more and this, it's a game, right? But it's up to you to what piece in the game that you are, right? If you can control, or let's look at chess, if you can control, being the piece that you want to be at the time that you want to be, that's what it's about. And there's no difference in sports because again, everybody is in it to get something, as the athlete as well. But
Yes.
you've got to be able to play your role, to know when you come in, know when to enter, know when to exit, know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know what to do when you need to do it, and not allow someone else to just pull your strings and be a puppet for you. Because a lot of times that's what happens with athletes. They end up being the puppet, and somebody's got their hand up their butt, right? So
Right.
so
Yes.
you have to control that. But I think life is a game, and sports is no different. But we have to know our role in that game. And in a lot of instances, we have to be able to control our role in that game. And that doesn't mean you've got to be the owner to do that. That just means that knowing where you fit in and playing, like you said, I don't want to get injured. So I'm going to do the things to prevent myself from being injured. I'm going to do the things that's going to put me in the best position, because I can't expect the owner to do that. I don't even expect the coach to do that. I mean, me and my husband have conversations all the time about coaches don't positioning is always like, so this kid did this and this in college, and now he comes to the NFL and it's like limits have been put on him. And yes, they have tons of guys that they're bringing in and out, but do you want to win or not?
Right. And that's
so anyway.
Okay, so we got questions coming in from, I think, other social platforms, so they're being sent to us. So we're going to give each question a short answer.
Okay, all right. Okay?
So next question is, how do you know when to put yourself first?
Well, I'm the wrong person to ask that question, because I'm always first. I mean,
exactly. I was going to say the same thing.
I love me. I love me, and I try to, especially with my family, I've tried to train my athletes. I mean, and even those who have stopped playing different things. My daughter sings. Even in you think the entertainment industry is any different? You know, like, so how do I know to put myself first? How do I know to value myself? I got to love myself first. I'm going to always have my best interests at heart. So if someone is saying something to me that's not that, I got to rethink that. Exactly. I got to look at it differently.
And also, you people always think like, I'm part of the team. I'm part of the team. There's no I in team. Well, that's not true. That's not true, because and the reason why is you have to have some I in the team, because you have to be able to bring your best. If you can't bring your best, then you're not really supporting your team. And that's in business and in sports. You know, my world is business, you know, and when somebody doesn't show up and they don't bring their A game, oh, I forgot my laptop. Oh, I forgot the hard drive. Oh, I forgot. Well, then we got a problem, hey?
I want to say Kobe did an interview and he said like there's no I in team. That's almost for suckers. And I know somebody's going to get me for saying that. But if you ask Larry Bird, if you ask Magic Johnson, if you ask Kobe Bryant, if you ask Michael Jordan, okay, I'm who I am. I'm going to make you better. Like, that's how they believed in themselves. And that's what they did. And so the proof is in the pudding. So people who say, yeah, I get the team player aspect. I think that those guys were the ultimate team players, but because they were so good at being themselves and what they brought to the table was valuable. So, I mean.
Exactly. I agree. Okay. So next question. Is it good to have friends that can get you a higher paying job? So if you're not qualified, I guess if you're not qualified, but you're like, but you know, your friend, okay, so I guess I'm trying to figure out how to.
No, I got it. Okay. If it works for you, I mean, if you know somebody, because when people say it's about who you know, it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. So if I know L and L can put me in a position and I believe that I can perform highly at that position, what difference does it make whether I have the degree or I have the different qualifications? I believe in myself enough to say I'm going to perform this position. And just because my friend hooked me up with it, this is America, y'all. I mean, somebody's living in a different world, because that happens every day, all day.
Yes. And it's in most positions, you have to go to the job to learn anyway. So even if you have a degree, especially like marketing and stuff, I meet people all the time. They're like, I love to come work with you. I have a degree in this. I have a degree in that. And I'm like, okay. So, and I just ask like some basic questions, because I don't believe in titles, for one. And I also don't believe that just because you are, you have, somebody told you, right? Because that's what a degree is. Somebody told you that you know how to do something, and most of the time it's not accurate. And because I have lots of education and things, and just because I wanted to know, and because of how I learned, I could probably do it. But would I pick myself to hire for that position when I don't have like real world experience? I would probably say no.
Right.
So I think that, you know, getting a hookup can be good if you have the skill set.
Absolutely, but the skill set that it isn't that subjective, like you said. You ask certain questions because you're looking for something, right? Someone else could be looking for something totally different. But I mean, even education now is subjective. There are people that are cheating their way through schools. Doesn't mean they can't still do the work, but that just means that they're actually maybe working a little smarter than harder. I mean, I don't know. You don't shoot the messenger, but that's
Girl, you
true.
not be saying people okay to cheat. Do not be cheating on school.
Hey, don't shoot the messenger.
All right. Well, okay. So then what about, so the next question is, should you ever work? Well, we talked about this. So so the question is, should you ever work through the pain? So I would say, yes, you should work through the pain if it's not excruciating and you are able to, and you're not like injured. You have to work through the pain. You banged your arm, okay? It's not broken, it's not hurt. You know later on you're going to be able to take care of it. You can continue to play, I would say. But if you like felt you hit something and you felt it crack, you need to quit.
I think we got to be honest. So that's where the athlete comes to being honest with themselves and really living in a reality world, because 9 times out of 10, when things happen, that's not the first time they've happened. They've already been playing through something, right? And so
that is
you know what I mean? Like, so you know, we can lie to ourselves and be like, oh yes, okay. My son told me one time, right? It's a playoff game. We hadn't been to the playoffs in a while, and he got kind of cracked back. He got hit blindside, right, by some guy, right, which is one of the worst things. You know, it's a penalty in the it should have been a penalty, but anyway, they brought him out of the game for a play, and because I was just kind of like, oh my god, he just clobbered my child, and much later, my son admitted to me he could not see out of one side of his face. Okay. Oh. My son was on the sideline saying, put me back in. So I said that to say we lie to ourselves. So I'm gonna tell people you don't be playing through nothing because you was playing through it last week, and this week somebody just saw you gimpy.
Right, I agree. Okay, so I
don't. Is it worth that? Are you getting a check after the game? Maybe might be worth it if you get a check. If you ain't getting no check after the game, sit your tail down. Just sit down. Take a rest. At least take a few plays off.
I think all of this is something that and you have to have somebody that's your advocate, right? That you are honest with and that you are telling everything. Because what I did find out in moving into this foray of helping players overcome these traumatic injuries is that they have been hiding things and not telling everything for extended periods of time. Okay. So there are things that they're like, I just, and you listen to Julian Edelman's story, and he's like, I was just working through this for forever. And I mean, he's like, you do these little things that keep you from getting further injured. And I'm like, wow, how, what? And okay, so in my mind, you know me, that's not good.
Right.
But that's going to bring me to my final question of this whole thing. And it's how is it different going from college to NFL as a player's mom?
Oh, I don't like it right now. Just because college is the difference is in college, you at least have 3 years because the players are required to play or be there for 3 years until they can even get to the league, right? So you build relationships. In the pros, everything it's business. Even with the mamas, it's business. I mean, ain't nobody who their son is a DB, they really ain't trying to be friends with me because my son's the new kid on the block and they baby trying to get his next contract. So, and there are spaces to where it's better, but your kid can also be in one place today and be traded tomorrow. So you don't have time to really build those relationships unless you're in a group or you're in a forum where it's focused on that. In college, we were forced to be together. at least for 3 years. I mean, my son's class, right? And then not to mention the babies that are coming in after, because they got a new class coming in every year. So, but it's just so business oriented in the NFL. I think moms don't like to get attached because, again, their baby could be somewhere else. I also think that they're worried about their baby's paycheck. They may have a family, they may have kids. So it's business. It's more business. And in college, we had fun. We had a blast. Nobody was worried about no checks. I do know there were situations where some moms felt like, oh, my kid should be playing over him. But at the same time, we were just mamas trying to support each other, trying to be there for each other, trying to hug on each other. And it's totally different in the professional realm.
Okay. All right. Well, I am very grateful and very happy to have you come on and set the tone for this summit. I believe that your input is extremely valuable. And I am sure that I'm going to call you again to have some more conversation during this summit, because there's so many things to unpack and so much conversation to have. And there's so much greatness in the players, greatness in the leagues that go, I would say, that could be enhanced, right?
Absolutely.
And so what we're looking for is the opportunity if you love football, then you know that you love football, you love any sport really. You know that the game, the leagues, they suffer when the good players aren't there. Look at baseball right now. The last time that baseball was everything was when Barry Bonds and A-Rod and all them were out there together, Sammy Sosa, and all them are doing their thing, and people are coming to see it. Now I think that baseball numbers are really down. And it's been down for a while until they get some more players that people are excited to come out and see.
Right. Well, and baseball just has shifted too, because everybody you named are, pretty much American players, but they go and get guys from elsewhere a lot too. So you don't know the guys like that. Those guys go back home, when they're not in season or whatever, and so, yeah, I think you're right, but I'm happy to be here. So, I believe in what you're doing. I definitely believe in education. My thing is empowerment, empowering others. Like, you don't have to, and knowledge is power, but only if you use it, so I think that some of the stuff that you're going to be sharing throughout this series, it's going to be valuable information for parents, for the athletes. And like I said, even if people see it later, you can't discount that. You cannot discount what you're trying to get out here in the atmosphere, let alone what you're doing. So I believe in this summit. I thank you for having me be a part of it. And so, yes, absolutely. I'll definitely come back when you need me to.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We are going to pause the session so we can get ready for our next speaker, who is Tremaine Bowman. And we are looking forward to it. So thank you so much, Angela Pride, for being here today. I am very, very grateful.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And guys, I'm all over social media. You can follow me on Instagram, Recruiting Gems. You can follow me on Facebook. I'm Angela Pride. Thank y'all so much. And I look forward to hearing from you.
Yes, and you guys will actually get emails and stuff about Angela and all that kind of good stuff. So that's a good part about having you sign up, so we can let you know how you can find your favorite speaker and information about them. And this and also, Angela, of course, this will be played again, like we're gonna post it on social media.
Oh, great.
We'll get to play probably for quite a while, so we're pretty excited about that.
Awesome.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right, you guys, we are going to take a 2-minute break. Actually, it looks like we are a little bit early. Actually, no, we're right on time. So yeah, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll be back at 12:55.